Moving from Phoenix to Northeast Tennessee, what to expect? Do you live in and around Phoenix, Arizona and are considering a move? Then stick around because I'm going to share with you some of the differences you can expect if you decide to leave Phoenix and move to Northeast Tennessee. This is Scott Henninger with eXp Realty, and we specialize in helping out-of-state buyers who want to move to Northeast Tennessee and Southwest Virginia. In fact, so far in 2022, we've helped 2 Phoenix residents relocate to the area, along with buyers from Oregon, California, Washington, Maine, Illinois, Connecticut, Florida, South Carolina, and more. I've spent a fair amount of time in Phoenix over the years. I have an aunt and uncle who live in Fountain Hills, and they've called it home for over 20 years. We also have a daughter and a son-in-law that live south of Phoenix in Casa Grande, who we visit several times a year. I've always loved visiting Arizona. It has to be one of the most beautiful states overall in the U.S. I've made the trip to Sedona and the Grand Canyon several times, and I'm still fascinated with the diversity of the state's landscape. The desert surrounding Phoenix just blew me away on my first visit, and it still fascinates me 20 years later. The wildlife, cactus, and those rugged mountains are just so different to what I've been around my whole life. The brown Rocky Mountains in the area are nothing like the Appalachian Mountains. They look mostly barren, and they just seem to spring out of nowhere since for the most part, the area is flat as a pancake. If you're leaving Phoenix and heading towards Sedona, you do begin to see the high mountain ranges to the left where you can start seeing some green. Plus you notice the scenery and the plant life changing drastically in just a 2-hour drive. It seems like there's nothing but cactus and scrub brush. Then you start seeing trees and then forest on the way to Flagstaff. And of course, the Grand Canyon speaks for itself. I like seeing all the different scenery in Arizona every time I visit. But personally, I just couldn't live there full time. It's a place where I might want to live for a year or two just to fully experience it. But I'd wind up returning to the mountains of Northeast Tennessee in the end. I'm going to share with you some of the differences that our buyers have shared with us after their move, along with my observations as to what you might expect if you made the move to Northeast Tennessee. The first difference will of course be the weather. Now, I've spent time in Phoenix in winter as well as in the middle of summer, and winter of course is much warmer in the Phoenix area than it is here. I looked up the average temperatures, and the coldest month in Phoenix is December, where the average high is 66, but the average low is 46. Now, our coldest month of the year is January, where the average high is 46 and that low is 27. So you'll get days where it'll be in the 50s and 60s in January, but also occasionally get days where it doesn't get out of the 30s. So our average high in the coldest month is the average low in Phoenix's coldest month. Now, I can see why a lot of people spend their winters in Phoenix. Those that don't like the cold and occasional snow won't be as happy during winter here. But here's my take on winters in Northeast Tennessee. You can almost always put on a jacket and a hat and go outside to take a walk or hike on all but the coldest days. You aren't confined to your house like the summers in Phoenix. Northeast Tennessee gives you those beautiful snowfalls many of us enjoyed as kids, but since our temperatures are fairly warm compared to the northern U.S. during winter, most of the time the snow only sticks around for a day or two, and it rarely causes serious travel problems unless you live in one of the mountain towns. So you get to enjoy the scenery during the snowfall, but it doesn't keep you inside for days and days as you wait for it to warm up and melt. And for those Phoenix residents that moved there from the Northeast to the Midwest to avoid the snow, just know that I don't know a single person in the Tri-Cities who owns a snowblower. Now, I'm sure there are some northern transplants that brought one with them when they moved, but I bet they don't get a chance to use it very often. Now, that should tell you something. Now, on to the obvious difference, summer. I don't know how you guys do it. For almost 4 months of the year, the average high in Phoenix is at least 98 degrees. In July, the average high is 106. In our area, the average high in our 2 hottest months is just 87, with an average low of 66. So when we spent a week there in mid-July this year, the temperature got as high as 114, and it was unbearable. It would still be 100 degrees at midnight. It feels like you're standing in front of an oven and just opened the door. And heaven help you if the wind's blowing. It doesn't cool you down like it would in our area. It makes it feel even worse. I've heard my whole life that, oh, it's a dry heat, like that makes things okay. Well, I can tell you this. I'll take 87 and humid all day long before I'd want to be in the 114 with low humidity. One of our clients, in fact, said the same thing after they moved here in June. There's a reason while I was driving around Casa Grande this summer in the afternoons that I hardly saw anyone outside. There were beautiful parks and playgrounds in a lot of the subdivisions, but they were all empty. I never saw one kid playing outside during the day, and everyone was on their summer break. To me, it felt kind of eerie. There are plenty of people driving around, of course, but the sidewalks are mostly empty. You just don't see people outside very often. It's probably a good thing that most people can't have grass and water their lawn in an area due to water conservation. If everyone had yards to mow, I don't know how you do it without starting at 6 in the morning and mowing in the dark. And getting into a hot car has a whole new meaning in Phoenix too, holy smokes. And the sun is more direct too. You can't even go out without sunglasses when you're driving. Plus you can really feel the sun baking you. So it might be more humid in the south, but at least that filters out some of the sun's rays. Sure, the southern summers are humid and you find yourself covered in sweat if you're outside working or maybe exercising, but our area has an advantage over most of the south. The mountains in northeast Tennessee have lower temps than the rest of the state. While our average high in the summer is 87, Memphis is 95. Of course, we all complain when it gets above 90, but the truth is there's no comparison from 90 and humid to a Phoenix summer. Here, you don't lose 3 or 4 months of the year where you have to stay inside for most part of the day. We get to enjoy the outdoors all year long. During the hottest parts of summer, you can always head out to one of our lakes, rivers, or streams to cool off, or you can go hiking in the mountains, which are about 6 degrees cooler than the valleys. There's no reason to feel like you need to spend all day inside. Now that brings up another thing that my aunt has mentioned to me as one of the things she misses most about living on the East Coast, and that's having 4 true seasons. Personally, spring and fall are my 2 favorite seasons. I guess it's because of the fact there's a change. There are so many flowering trees and plants that bloom as we come out of winter. Places just look and feel different from one week to the next. Then there's the colors of fall leaves that you get to enjoy for weeks, just beautiful. If you're lucky, you'll have 2 or 3 snowfalls that cover the ground and they'll transform your backyard view during winter. Then another spring rolls around and it starts all over again. Besides the temperatures being different in Phoenix and some flowering plants that change with the seasons, I'd say that the desert really doesn't look all that different during the course of the year. Northeast Tennessee stays green for the most part until winter comes and all the leaves are down off the trees. It rains an average of 94 days a year in our area, while Phoenix averages just 18 days. So all that rain means green vegetation, and it just looks and feels more alive to me. I'll just summarize by saying that you can spend much more of your time outside in Northeast Tennessee compared to Phoenix. You can enjoy all 4 seasons and have more outdoor activity options. But the weather isn't the only difference you're going to experience if you move from Phoenix to Northeast Tennessee. One thing that really stuck with me while we were in Phoenix the last time is the difference in the mindset of people in general. Now, any place in the country is going to have a mix of friendly and less friendly people, so I'm speaking in very general terms here. In Northeast Tennessee, most people will hold the door for you when you're walking into a shop or restaurant. The majority of people seem to be considerate of others and friendly, and they're often happy to strike up a conversation in line at the grocery store. In our part of the country, it's pretty common when you're driving down a side road in the country for people to wave as you pass. Not so much in Phoenix. Here's an example. When I would go shopping carts were left all over the parking lot. I saw buggies all over the place, sometimes just feet away from the place you're supposed to return them. And this has always been a pet peeve of mine, rightly or wrongly. In the past month, after getting back to Tennessee, I've only seen 1 cart not put up the whole time. Now, in my mind, this says something about how much respect people have for others. Why the difference between our area and out there? Maybe the sense of community is less. Maybe just so stinking hot that no one wants to be outside any longer than they have to, and they just leave the car wherever. I don't know. But there is a difference. It's a different mindset. Another big difference, traffic. Should you expect a long commute thanks to heavy traffic? No. During rush hours in Johnson City and in Kingsport, you might be held up at a few lights because there are more people on the roads, but there are no such things as HOV lanes here and the daily backups on the interstate. If you watched my Bristol video, you heard me say that I hadn't been stuck in traffic once since I moved back. And that video is over a year old, and I still can say the same thing. I have yet to be stuck in traffic here. If you have children, research the educational system and compare it to your current schools. You're going to find a lot of highly ranked schools in all three of the Tri-Cities, and most people here send their kids to public schools. We like to use greatschools.org as a resource to compare, for example. Several people have relocated to the area because they believe their education options were just better here. I've covered the cost of living in earlier videos, so I won't go into detail here, but just know that many things are less expensive. Property taxes are less, car registration is less expensive, there's no state income tax, often medical expenses can be more affordable, and we haven't even discussed housing prices. You will get much more house for your money in general in our area than you will out there. Lots are larger in general too, so you get more privacy, plus houses don't look so similar like many homes in the desert Southwest. There are a lot more building materials to choose from besides stucco for your exterior, for example. The styles of homes can be very different, even in the same subdivision. And you won't find concrete block walls around subdivisions either, which I found kind of unusual. Again, I do have a spot in my heart for Arizona, and I don't want to come off as putting down those of you living there in any way. I've been lucky to spend a fair amount of time in the state, and I do love to visit. And I've met some good people there through the years. The scenery is so different to what I'm used to, which is what I think is part of the draw. But in my mind, nothing beats Northeast Tennessee. Our climate lets you enjoy all the natural beauty year-round. We're surrounded by mountains, lakes, and rivers. You get to enjoy hiking or walking or boating, fishing, biking for most of the year, and we get our 4 distinct seasons. It costs less to live here, and overall, the people in our area aren't afraid to dole out that southern hospitality. I grew up in Bristol, Tennessee, lived in a lot of other parts of the country, and then I returned. I'm a little biased, I think, but I do believe that I have some perspective since we've helped people such as yourself move to the area and know what they've had to say about their experience. I hope you found this video helpful. If you want to learn more about the area, look for more of our videos on YouTube or simply give us a call. We'd love to chat with you for a few minutes and see if Northeast Tennessee might be a good fit for you. This is Scott Henninger with eXp Realty, where we're exceeding expectations, whether it's your first home or your last.